Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's VinPF and welcome to another episode where I'm going to be going through this advent calendar. Now, if you caught the first episode, that's brilliant. If not, you might want to go back and check that one out. But hopefully, if you've got this set, you might be tasting along with me. If not, hopefully you're just enjoying the ride. What I'm going to be doing is every 4 days, I'm going to be opening the windows for those previous 4 days and doing a little mini tasting of 4 drams just to keep it kind of manageable. And hopefully, say if you've got this, you're tasting along with me. That's kind of the general idea of this little kind of video extras thing. These aren't proper reviews. Sometimes these things are going to be things I've never tried before, maybe even that I don't even know what they are. But, you know, we don't know what's in this box. We're just going to see what we've got as we go along. Now, I'll be opening this in just a second. I'll open these, pour these out, and then we'll go through them one by one, starting over here. So this will be kind of day 5, 6, 7, and 8. Obviously, we did the 1 to 4 previously. And then the idea is that once I've finished these drams, I'm only going to be kind of giving a first impression, a little bit of a sniff, and if I do know something about these whiskies, I'll talk about them a little bit. Then I'm going to be chucking the remainders of them into this infinity bottle here, which is an old, really nice old lovely bottle of mine, which it's not a cork, it's a kind of glass with a little plasticky thing there. I actually really like this bottle, so I've been looking for an excuse to do that. I imagine that this is going to be quite peaty as it goes along, because any peat in a blend tends to dominate it, or at least give off peaty flavours. But we'll see what that's like at the end of it. It's probably going to be like a Christmas Day episode, let's say. But we'll sort of get into that later on in the month. For now though, let's get into the actual drams itself and see what we've got, and see if there's things that I know about these, if I've tried them before, that sort of thing. We don't know. As I said, this is the Explorer's box. There are many different versions of these, so hopefully if you're interested in this, you can go and check out Master of Malt in the description and help the channel out as well. It's an affiliate link there, and you might be able to pick that up now. I'm not sure if they've sold out or not, but in any case, it's a pretty fun thing to do. This one retails for about £100, and there are kind of more expensive ones, and they do gins and things like that as well. Worth having a look at. So let's have a look, see if we can find number 4. Not always the easiest things to find, especially on the spot. I really probably should have looked at this beforehand to kind of get an idea where they are. I'm looking for number 4 and I've already done number 4. That's why. Number 5 it is then. Still don't know where number 5 is. There's number 5. Alright. No point trying to keep it pretty. Let's just get in there and see what we got. Okay, so we have an Ailsa Bay. This is the release 1.2 Sweet Smoke. Now I've covered the first release. Don't remember it being so smoky. I think one of the kind of tasting notes in there was smoke, but I think it was probably a bit underpowering. But well, that's definitely got some peat on it. Once again, we're starting with a peat. I think last time it was Smokehead or something like that. So again, Master of Malt and Drinks by the Dram. I don't think they typically expect people to do what I'm doing with this, but you know, we'll see how it goes. But I've also just realised I haven't got any water with me. Very unprofessional. Let's go. And we're back with some water. Now, the intention with these videos was not to be kind of super polished, super kind of edited and stuff like that. So leave stuff like this in, is what I always say. Make it kind of more of a live streamy thing. But I didn't want to do these kind of live streams because I don't want to commit to specific days, just in case. You never know, you never know. In any case, let's move on and unbox this a bit more. Number 6 we are looking for next. Da-da-da. Where are you all? I see 7. There's 6. Beautiful. Again, adding a little bit more authenticity to the fact that I did not pre-prepare this at all. Maybe I should have, but then, you know, that's just not me, is it? Loch Lomond. Okay, Loch Lomond single grain. Okay, yeah, so I've covered a couple of Loch Lomonds. I've covered the 12, Loch Lomond 12, and I think I've covered the Inchmurrin and Inchgowan, I want to say. I can't remember if that's what it's called or not. Definitely the Inchmurrin. But never this one. This is the single grain. Loch Lomond, quite famous for having a lot of different styles, because they've got a couple of different stills available to them, including their kind of I forget the funny name for it, but it's kind of straight edge and it's got a top to it. I think they might just call it the Lomond still or something like that. In any case, they can do loads of funky stuff, which is kind of cool. So now we're looking for, that's 5, 6, 7. We saw that a bit earlier, didn't we? 7 here. I don't see 8. There it is. There you go. I'm looking ahead now so that I don't waste too much time. Bin this off, bin this off. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there. Green Isle. And just in case you didn't know, from the makers... If you can... New camera is coming, I promise. From the makers of the Character of Islay Whiskey Company. Now, I did cover the Aerolite Lindsay, a 10-year-old Islay. This one, of course, is a blend of theirs. But if I remember from the press releases, although it's a blend, I might try and throw a picture up of the bottle here to kind of get you to know what it looks like. But it's kind of a retro-y looking bottle, 40% blend, quite cheap if I remember, like kind of 30 odd quid, less than 30 maybe. But it has mainland malts and grains in it as well. So, yeah, we'll see when we get into that. I'm going to have a little sniff actually. Okay. Interesting. The last one then, we said number 8. Over here. Stiff doors. I don't think there's really any way of doing this pretty. I know some people like to leave their windows on, but I'm not that guy. Don't like to leave the windows on. Right, let's straighten that one up then. While we have a look at this one. Copper Republic Bourbon Cask Finish Single Grain Whiskey. Copper Republic. Now, I want to say... Woo! Okay, that one's weird. I want to say this is South African. I've never covered this, never tried this, never tried any of their stuff before. I thought they did brandy, Copper Republic, which is why I don't really know anything about. I don't really do brandy. I've been trying a few cognacs thanks to Chris at the last drop. He kind of got me into cognacs a little bit. But yeah, I don't know anything about this whatsoever, apart from that it smells very interesting. Bourbon Cask Finish Single Grain Whiskey. I think it's South African. Right, well there you go. That's the 4 drams we're going to be doing today. Interesting one because not only have I not covered any of these before, I've never tried any of these before, literally before today. You've seen me crack the wax on this. So we'll see what we get from these things. You know, I'm not going to be delving into tasting notes or anything like that. We're just going to be having a fun little tasting. Before we get into the actual first one, I'm going to have a little cleanse with my kind of fresh new water. Just in case there's anything on there. We'll get into the first one, which was the... I always say Ailsa Bay. Ailsa Bay. I might be saying that wrong. Ailsa Bay, release 1.2. Now, if I remember from the first one, not cheap, about sort of 50 quid, but I remember being quite impressed with the first one. There is definitely some kind of smokiness to this, but not, as it says, it's kind of sweet smoke, you know, it names on the tin. Isn't overpowering, but might be a bit too much if you're not into your peat at all. Let's go for the palate and we'll come back. Very spice forward, and a bit more peat on the back end. It's definitely more peaty than the first release. So if you're kind of weighing up those two, the first one, I can't actually remember what I said about it, but I think I remember saying something like, it's meant to have smoke in it. I don't really get that in it. It could do a bit more smoke, and this is kind of that. Let's have another sniff and a taste. I don't know what barrels they're using, but I'm pretty sure it's ex-bourbon. Interesting thing about Ailsa Bay is that it's on the same site as Girvan Grain Distillery, which, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of the grains, the single grains. None of that's in this. This is all single malts. But it's nice to see them kind of diversifying out and creating a new brand name out of it, I guess. I'm not really sure why. I'd have been happy to have a kind of Girvan single malt, but I can see why that would create confusion. Yeah, that's tasty. I like that. It's I wouldn't say it's overly complex. It's not something you're going to want to delve into, but there's a lot of kind of spiciness going on the back end. Some more of that peat smoke. It's not overly ashy, but it is the dying embers of a bonfire, that kind of thing. That's going to be an interesting one, because now I'm going to need a big old cleanse before the next one. And we'll move straight onto this one, which is the Loch Lomond single grain. Now, as I said, a big fan of the grains, but a caveat to that is that usually I like grains that have been sat in a cask for a very long time. Mainly because they're cheap, they're cheaper than a single malt of the same age. But something wonderful happens to grain over about 25 years, maybe less, let's say 20 years. But you can get a good 20-plus-year-old grain for, way less than £100, usually kind of close to the £50-60 mark. So if you're looking for kind of cask influence over a long period of time, it's a good way to kind of get into that without breaking the bank too badly. So I'm not sure about this. This is a non-aged statement, so it could be well aged, it might not be, but let's have a nose and a taste and see what we've got. Okay. Now, obviously I know that it's a grain, but I feel like I would pick this out as a grain. It's got that kind of almost gassy nose that kind of I get from grains. It's hard for me to convey that as an actual tasting note, but when I'm smelling grains, I kind of get this kind of gassiness from them that I don't get from malts. My way of telling the difference, at least. Let's try on the palate. Oh, that's good. Yeah, actually, that's good. I was a bit worried. I was a bit worried that it was gonna kind of be a bit youthful, but it's actually quite powerful. I think this is like 43%, 46%. There you go. It tastes to me like it isn't so aged, but it's using good casks. So you're getting a lot of that cask influence in there. Let's have another little taste. Yeah, again, I think probably ex-bourbon barrels, getting a lot of those vanillas in there. There's this kind of weird, I say weird, I always say weird, like I don't mean it negatively, but it's just unexpected is probably a better way of saying it. This kind of unexpected citrusy, orangey note on the back end that I'm really enjoying. Very, very spice forward. To be honest with you, I don't know why I was worried. I'm always impressed by the things that are coming out of Loch Lomond. Always impressed. Everyone that I've covered so far and all the little wee samples that I've managed to try over my years have always given me good hope from that distillery. I should cover them more. I should buy some more of their stuff. Okay. This might actually work out quite nicely. I think, knowing the Drams now that I've got out lined up, I think I would have maybe swapped these two around. But this one here, whoa, is so weird that I don't think it would matter too much about the peat. Right, so now we're going to check out the green ale. This is a 40%er, so it's obviously designed to be a kind of relatively affordable entry-level Scotch, and as I mentioned earlier, although it's based around Islay, obviously the character of Islay Company, it's based around Islay. The green ale relates to Islay itself, I know that much. I can't remember exactly why. I think there's some relation to a quote of some kind, but you'll have to look that up. I'm not sure why. But as I said, I believe, again, maybe don't quote me on this, but I believe that there is also some mainland stuff in there. I don't know exactly what proportions or anything like that, so I'm not going to go too much into that. I don't want to kind of lead you down the wrong path on that. But yeah, I mean, for a young blend, I'm surprised at the colour. So I'd be equally surprised if this wasn't. I'd be surprised if it was natural coloured and non-chill filtered. But again, I don't know that for a fact. Onto the nosy. Not getting a whole heap of smokiness on this immediately, but there is something weird about it that would kind of, again, what I try to do with these things is imagine what I might feel like if I was in a blind tasting. There's definitely something about it that would make me kind of spend a bit more time and question it. Let's try on the palate. Yeah. There's definitely a good wedge of peatiness in there. I have to say, I'm initially struck with quite a low viscosity, quite a wateriness on this, which kind of leads me to believe that it probably is chill filtered at the low ABV of 40. Mouthfeel is very thin, but it's got a good punchiness of peat, and we're talking. There's some ashiness to it there, but we are talking kind of the same kind of level of peat as the previous. So that kind of burning wood, rather than smoke. You know, this is kind of like char. That's what we're talking about here. Definitely some graininess going on there. So you know, like I said, the mainland kind of whiskies that are in there. I think one of them is a grain and one of them's a malt. Not sure which way around that is, but you know, the more or less. Obviously, blends tend to be erring more towards the kind of bulk grains to kind of reduce the price, but it's kind of what it's reminded me of is, like, dare I say, like the kind of like Johnny Walker Black Label, that kind of vibe, you know. And I have to say, if you've watched my video of the Johnny Walkers, I can be overly critical of Johnny Walker, but the Johnny Walker 12 is something that I always enjoy. I have to say, I always enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the double black so much, and of course didn't like the White Walker at all. Red Label, not a fan of, but I've always been in high praise of the 12. It's got a nice, well-rounded palate, and it's cheap enough. It's the same, you know, kind of 40%. The blend, you know, with the smokiness in there as well. This is smokier than the Black Label, but it's on a par, I would say, with that. Probably in everything in terms of price and quality, and obviously not availability, but something I would recommend if you are in the mood for a cheap, like, no-brainer whiskey, a kind of no-guilt whiskey, or as I've coined before, that kind of guard whiskey, you know, something that you can plonk in front of your more expensive bottles. So when you kind of casually go into your cabinet and just fancy a dram, then you just reach for the first bottle instead of that being something that's like 80 quid. You know, he's got something that's 30 quid that you're not going to be disappointed with when it's in your glass. Yeah, I enjoy that. It could do with being higher on the ABV, but then that kind of defeats the object of it, I imagine, which is to be an entry-level, cheaper whiskey. The more ABV it goes in there, the more expensive that's going to be. I would prefer the viscosity to be a bit higher, a bit of a better mouthfeel, but you know, you have to. Some of these whiskies are what they are. They're filling a gap in the market that they want to fill, and they're not always trying to appeal to me directly, personally. I think that's the fairest thing to say. Okay, we're getting through them. Right, so now to this last one, which I believe is that South African. Again, single grain. I haven't tried many South African whiskies. I've tried a couple of, I want to say 3 ships. I've got a sample up here. Yeah, there's a sample of the 3 ships 15 up there that was sent over to me by the Whiskey Couch. A really good channel, actually. He does food pairings and stuff as well, so well worth checking him out. They're doing interesting stuff down there, you know, because they're, again, a lot of countries that kind of start out making whiskey will try to emulate Scotch as best they can because they know that it's a proven flavour profile and a proven popular drink around the world. But it's nice to see when people do things differently and try to make their own identity within this kind of spirit, especially when they're not held, I was going to say held back, but when they're not being kind of conformed by the SWA's rules, which keep Scotch what it is. It's nice to see a bit of extra innovation in there. So yeah, as I said before, this smelt kind of interesting, so I'm going to delve into it now. My God, I mean, it's such a... For me, the first thing I'm getting is like cardamom. This huge whack of cardamom, that gassiness that I get from grains that I mentioned earlier on the previous grain. Huge oak influence on this as well. I can already tell from the nose. I don't know anything more about, you know, what cask types we're using here, apart from the fact that it's a bourbon cask finish. I don't know what they've used before that. Could be anything. I could smell this for days. Let's hope that translates across to the old palate. Let's have a go. Whoa, I'm having a moment there. That's really impactful. 43%. Now, as I said before, I like to do these things. Imagine if I was doing this like a blind tasting, how I might feel. And my gut reaction, I mean, obviously on the note, I would have no idea what this is. It's I'm saying gassiness for grain, but I don't think I would pull this out as a grain because it's so different to anything else I've ever tried before. But I would not have called this at a 43%. This tastes like it's much higher. Yeah, the cask influence on this is huge. Bags of those kind of charred tannins, those leathery notes going on. Possibly overpowering some youthful grain. On the back end again, I'm getting that gassiness that I get off single grains usually. I get, but not quite enough for me to pull it out. Maybe, could I? I don't know, it's hard to say, I would like to feel like I would pull this out as a single grain, but you never know. Blind tastings can really screw with your mind. I mean, that is complex, I would say. It's challenging. It's not an easy sipper, but I like that. I like that in a whiskey. I like something to kind of, rather than just being a part of your evening, you know, you're watching telly, whatever, there's a drink in your glass and you're just chucking it down, you're not really paying attention to it. You know, that's for other whiskies. This is one, if I was going to pour this into my glass, I would at most just have some music on, I think, because I'd want to be concentrating on this with my little notebook and seeing what I really feel of it. If you haven't seen this notebook, I did a show on my personal favourite books previously, so please do go check that out. I'll pop a link in the description below if I remember. But this is one of the things I like to do, which I'll show you a blank page so I don't do any spoilers. But it's something like this, where you've got a kind of personal wheel and you can kind of pick out flavours yourself. And I like to do that with a complex one like this. Now this, I have to say, is probably going to screw up the old infinity bottle, and this is going to be very prevalent on the final flavour profile, assuming we don't get too much peat throughout the rest of this. Because it's an explorer's one, we're going to be covering things from all over the world, I imagine. They're not going to be doing peat too much, although I have to say so far we've had like at least three with good levels of peat, maybe 4. It's 50% so far have been somewhat peaty. We're not sure. Okay, so I am going to plop these in here in a bit after the show's finished. But again, I'd like to say thank you for watching this. This is the second episode of these I'm going to do. I think it works out to 6, doing really poor maths. And then I'm going to try this soon after. So let me know if you're enjoying these, whether you're drinking along with me or not. If you are, I would love to know what you think about each of these whiskies as you're drinking. Am I talking crap when I'm doing my kind of tasting notes? As I mentioned at the top of the show, these aren't reviews. I haven't done any kind of research on these whiskies. How could I? I don't know what's in the box. And it's all brand new to me, so I'm not really going in too much depth with these. I'm just trying to dredge out some information from the last 4 years of me doing this whiskey thing. But if you're enjoying this, please do hit the thumbs up and let me know so that I can, keep going with gusto. And it kind of guides me for next year if I do this kind of thing again. But if you're not drinking along with me, what are you drinking while you're enjoying this? Have you got your own calendar that you've built yourself? Have you got a different one that you're drinking along? Let me know what you've got in your calendar, and just let me know what you've got in your glass generally. I'll catch you again on the next video coming soon in about 4 days' time.